Here is Immortal Moments for explanation. Friends, like videos and subscribes to our channel. Martial Universe Season 10 Part 37 Explanation. So let's start our explanation. In front of the ancestral temple of the celestial demon Martin tribe. The ancestral temple is an important place for the tribe, and typically speaking, it had relatively tight security. However, this place was filled with loud voices and was extremely lively today. This was because the celestial demon Martin tribe would select the successor to the tribe leader today. This matter was considered as an exceptionally important event for the celestial demon Martin tribe. Hence, they had to hold it in a sacred place, like the ancestral temple, in order to demonstrate how important the event was. There was an altar square, which was made from extremely ancient rocks, standing in front of the ancestral temple. A huge stone tablet stood on the altar, and this stone tablet had the names of many ancestors of the celestial demon Martin tribe inscribed on it. All of these ancestors had achieved great accomplishments. A lively atmosphere enveloped the altar square in front of the ancestral temple. However, amidst the din, there was something faintly peculiar about the atmosphere. The source of that irregularity stemmed from the two clearly divided groups standing on the square. Standing on the left, their leader was a tall figure with a handsome devil-like appearance. Both of his lips were curled tightly, appearing just like blades. Meanwhile, an icy sharpness was present on him. His elongated eyes were filled with an inborn sense of pride, and he stood out even when standing amongst this group. This person was naturally little Martin. Currently, both of his hands were lowered as his eyes stared at the stone tablet erected in front of him. His handsome face seemed to be devoid of any emotions. Unlike the group standing behind him, he did not stare at the group on the right with icy cold and cautious eyes. The other faction also had quite a large number of people. Their leader was Hao Jiuyous, whom Lin Dong had met before. Even though his aura was inferior to little Martin's, his face was filled with a warm smile. As he occasionally chatted with those standing behind him, his laughter felt just like the spring breeze. This person was extremely scheming, and one had to admit that his demeanor made it easy for him to leave a good impression and convince others to join his side. Humph, what a hypocrite. Standing beside little Martin, Wu Zhong glanced at Hao Jiuyous and snorted coldly. His voice was filled with disdain. As a supporter of little Martin, he naturally did not have a good impression of Hao Jiuyous. Be quiet. Otherwise, others might start criticizing you again. Little Martin said without turning his head around. Wu Zhong curled his lips reluctantly. If not for the fact that little Martin had been missing for 100 years, Hao Jiuyous would definitely not dare to act in such a haughty manner, given the former's prestige within the celestial demon Martin tribe. I wonder how young brother Lin Dong is doing. It has been a couple of days since he entered the heavenly cave. Wu Zhong spoke in a soft voice. There was a slight tinge of anxiety in his voice. There was a slight change in little Martin's expression when he heard this. Following which, he shook his head helpless. There was no point in worrying about this issue for now. However, given his understanding of Lin Dong, he knew that it was unlikely for the latter to run into any major problems. Moreover, the tribe leader's successor is about to be selected. Based on the current situation, it seems like that fellow has quite a high chance of success. If he is selected as the tribe leader's successor, his say in the tribe will only grow by the day. At that time, it is likely that the tribe leader will not be able to turn things around even if he leaves his cultivation seclusion. Wu Zhong sighed. They were well aware of Hao Jiuyous' methods. If the latter was selected to become the tribe leader's successor, he would definitely quietly suppress and exclude them. It is pointless to think about it now. Little Martin shook his head. Since the situation had already developed until this stage, it was pointless to think about it for now. Moreover, did Hao Jiuyous really believe that it was going to be so easy to snatch his position? Little Martin slowly clenched his long hands tightly. Meanwhile, the sharpness on the corner of his lips became increasingly icy. Many pairs of eyes present were looking back and forth between the two groups standing in front. Those eyes, that were looking at little Martin, were filled with pity and regret. There were many people from the same generation as little Martin, and they clearly knew who held absolute prestige in the celestial demon Martin tribe back then. Back then, little Martin's talent and prestige was unmatched amongst the celestial demon Martin tribe younger generation members. At that time, everyone thought that little Martin was definitely going to become the next tribe leader. However, that accident completely changed the situation. In front of the ancestral temple, the din in the square continued. In fact, the din only gradually died down when 10 elders appeared on the stage in front of the ancestral temple. After the old tribe leader went into a seclusion, little Martin, who was supposed to take this opportunity to establish his position, disappeared for 100 years. Therefore, most of the tribe matters were now handled by these elders, and they clearly held a high status in the celestial demon Martin tribe. On the stage, the leader amongst the 10 elders was a grey-robed old man with white hair. Although he was already quite old, his skin appeared like that of a baby. There was a glint flashing within his gently shut eyes, while an extremely powerful yuan power fluctuation spread when he lifted his hand. This person was the current first elder of the celestial demon Martin tribe, Zhu Li. Zhu Li's eyes slowly swept across the altar square. When he looked at them, many members of the celestial demon Martin tribe displayed a respectful expression. However, little Martin merely nodded to him when he turned to look at little Martin. Zhu Li looked at little Martin, before he nodded his head and withdrew his gaze. However, he secretly sighed in his heart. 100 years ago, not a single person from the younger generation could match up to the latter. Even Hao Jiuyous, who was now the most outstanding younger generation member, was merely the latter's lackey at that time. Unfortunately, 100 years had allowed those behind him to catch up. Everyone is well aware of the reason why we have gathered here today. The tribe leader has been in a seclusion for 100 years, and we need someone to handle the tribe matters. However, the tribe leader is not showing any signs of coming out from his seclusion. Hence, the tribe needs to select a tribe leader successor. Zhu Li's eyes scanned his surroundings as he spoke in a deep voice. There are currently 2 candidates in the tribe, Jiao and Hao Jiuyous. Their reputation within the tribe are equal to each other, and the Elder Council has difficulties coming to a conclusion even after a discussion. Everyone in the square nodded. Little Martin and Hao Jiuyous. One of them had already made a name for himself in the celestial demon Martin tribe a long time ago, while the other had risen in recent years. However, Hao Jiuyous' performance over the recent years did not lose out to little Martin's back then. It was indeed difficult to pick between the two of them. It is precisely because of this that we have finally decided to adopt the most primitive method. The victor shall be king. Zhu Li slowly said. His eyes drifted towards the calm-looking little Martin when he uttered these words. He had always maintained a neutral position in the tribe. However, in reality, he leaned a little closer to little Martin's father. Hence, he also supported little Martin. However, owing to his status, it was impossible for him to openly support little Martin, as he must remain impartial. After all, that was his responsibility as the first elder of the tribe. Little Martin and Hao Jiuyous were both powerful experts, who had stepped into the samsara stage. In fact, even amongst the entire celestial demon Martin tribe, the both of them were considered as outstanding members. Hence, after some deliberation, they concluded that the both of them were pretty good candidates for the position of tribe leader successor. Since it was difficult to make a choice through voting, they could only use the method advocated in the demonic beast world. The strongest was king. After all that talk, we still end up fighting. Wu Zong curled his lips and said, "This is the easiest and most direct method." Little Martin replied in a faint voice. "However, as of now, that fellow is no simple pushover. In fact, his strength is likely not inferior to yours. I really wonder how his strength has soared so rapidly over the last 100 years. Could it be that he has been suppressing it all along?" Wu Zong frowned. Meanwhile, his tone also became a little more solemn. After all, he had personally witnessed Hao Jiuyous' shocking rise in the celestial demon Martin tribe over the past 100 years. A couple of years ago, the latter had even fought with an elder and defeated him. After which, his reputation within the tribe soared to its peak. Although Wu Zong greatly disliked Hao Jiuyous, he did not dare to underestimate the latter's frightening strength. In fact, even though he had trained for a longer period of time, he knew that he would likely lose in a real fight. many voices rose from the originally quiet square after Zhu Li's voice sounded. A few pairs of eyes continuously stared at little Martin and Hao Jiuyous, while their eyes contained a look of curiosity. Clearly, they wanted to find out who was the stronger one out of these two outstanding Celestial Demon Martin tribe members. Do the both of you have any objections to the Elder Council's decision? Zhu Li looked towards little Martin and Hao Jiuyous before asking. Hao Jiuyous smiled slightly and shook his head after hearing this. However, someone standing beside him suddenly asked, "First Elder, it is rumored that someone tried to barge into the Heavenly Cave a couple of days ago. That act is against the rules of the tribe." Zhu Li frowned slightly, before he glanced at the person standing beside Hao Jiuyous. He was naturally aware of this matter. However, he did not pursue this matter after considering the fact that little Martin was worried about his father. Nevertheless, little Martin had indeed broken the rules of the tribe. By mentioning this now, it was obvious that this person was trying to accuse little Martin of ignoring the rules of the tribe. "Ha ha, First Elder, please do not pay any attention to him. Big Brother Jiao is an extremely rational person and he merely acted reckless in this matter. This is pardonable. Hence, please do not fault Big Brother Jiao." Hao Jiuyous smiled before chiding the person who had spoken, standing beside him. "Damn it, this bastard really knows how to put up a show." Wu Zhong's face turned green in fury. Would that fellow dare to mention this matter if he had not been instructed by Hao Jiuyous? Now, this incident merely ended up bolstering Hao Jiuyous' reputation. Little Martin's handsome face was still devoid of emotions. He merely glanced deeply at a smiling Hao Jiuyous. A smile that was devoid of joy or anger appeared. "Brother Jiuyous, thank you for understanding. I have been gone for 100 years and my training has been greatly neglected. Hence, I also wish to find out just how much stronger you are compared to back then." Hao Jiuyous stared at little Martin's handsome face, before his pupils shrunk. As he recalled the latter's former glory, even someone like him felt his heart shudder. However, his present self was no longer the same as back then. "I will let everyone know that my present self already stands above you, the previous top genius of the Celestial Demon Martin tribe." Hao Jiuyous slowly clenched the hands under his sleeves as he slowly stepped forward. A murderous intent lingered over his heart as he stepped forward. When Hao Jiuyous walked into the arena, many surrounding pairs of eyes gathered and focused their attention on him. Back then, little Martin was undoubtedly the most dazzling figure amongst his generation. At that time, Hao Jiuyous was merely a timid youth who followed behind him. Hence, no one expected that 100 years later, this once unassuming young man would become the greatest competitor to little Martin for the position of tribe leader successor. "Ha ha, Big Brother Jiao. We have not met for 100 years. I will be seeking pointers from you today." Hao Jiuyous cupped his hands towards little Martin and smilingly said, "You have seriously changed." Little Martin took a glance at Hao Jiuyous. Back then, this once quiet young man with low self-esteem, who had even trembled when he first stood in front of him, had undergone a complete transformation. "Big Brother Jiao has always been a target that I wish to surpass. If I don't change, I'm afraid that I will never be able to do so." Hao Jiuyous smiled. His eyes stared intently at little Martin. Perhaps it was because of the angle, but little Martin could see a ferocious expression from his smile. The person in front of him was no longer the same timid young man who needed his help when he was being bullied. "In that case, allow me to see if your current self has the ability to do so." Some ripples were stirred within little Martin's eyes, before they quickly disappeared. After which, a sharp glint slowly gathered within his eyes. "If the both of you do not have any objections, this match shall determine the tribe leader successor. However, both of you must remember that this is a spar and neither of you are allowed to use lethal force." Standing on the stage, Zhu Li looked at the two figures in a face-off. Then, he secretly sighed before he spoke in a deep voice. "Big Brother Jiao, please show mercy." Even though Hao Jiuyous was full of smiles, his eyes did not contain even the slightest bit of joy. Instead, there was an icy chilliness in them. After all, he wanted everyone to see that this once dazzling top genius of the Celestial Demon Martin tribe will be trampled by him today. Bang! A frightening aura came whistling out from his body as his voice sounded. Vast and mighty yuan power surged around Hao Jiuyous' body. Life chi and death chi were perfectly merged together in his yuan power. Evidently, he had reached the samsara stage. Little Martin took a step forward. A similarly powerful aura also radiated from him and suppressed Hao Jiuyous' aura. Straightening all his fingers, there were sharp purple-black light arcs dancing between them. Big brother Jiao, it seems like you have not spent the past 100 years in vain. Back then, you had yet to advance into the samsara stage. Hao Jiuyous smilingly said. However, there was no surprise in his eyes. Clearly, he already knew about little Martin's strength. However, I wonder if your samsara stage strength is stronger or if mine is better. A cold glint flashed deep within Hao Jiuyous' eyes. His body moved before he directly appeared beside little Martin in a phantom-like fashion. Soon after, he transformed into many after-images. Each of these after-images straightened all 10 of their fingers, before an extremely sharp and icy cold force mercilessly smashed towards the fatal spots all over little Martin's body. Our tribe's demon illusion body has been mastered by you. However, it is useless against me. Little Martin looked at the many after-images which had appeared in his vision, before he chuckled. Purple-black light flashed across his eyes before he suddenly slammed his palm forward. Vast and mighty yuan power rose from his palm, like the rising bright sun. Bang! Little Martin's palm smashed heavily against one after-image. Subsequently, the other after-images collapsed before the real Hao Jiuyous also appeared in a flash. His two straightened fingers were pressing against little Martin's palm, while vast and mighty yuan power covered his entire arm. Crack! The stone floor under both parties' feet cracked because of the yuan power seeping out from their palm and fingers. You should come at me head-on if you wish to defeat me. These techniques are useless against me. Little Martin glanced at Hao Jiuyous, who was standing in front of him, before he said in a faint voice. Ha ha, in that case, I shall do as you say. Hao Jiuyous smiled. However, the icy cold glint within his eyes intensified. He withdrew his fingers before his body rose directly into the sky. Moving both of his hands, vast and mighty natural yuan power came whistling forth like floodwaters. After which, one could see many dark purple stars forming in Hao Jiuyous' palm. Great 9 stars palm. Many onlookers around the square exclaimed upon witnessing this scene. Clearly, this so-called Great 9 Stars Palm was quite renowned in their celestial demon Martin tribe. Great 9 Stars Palm her. Some emotions also rose from within little Martin's eyes. Soon after, he took a step forward before a fluctuation appeared on his palm. It turns out there was also a purple color star array forming on his palm. Clearly, he was planning to use the same martial art. Buzz buzz. Wild and violent yuan power whizzed across the place like a flowing river. Within 10 breaths' time, a 9-star array was formed in both little Martin's and Hao Jiuyous' palm. The 9-star arrays were dazzling, but everyone could detect a powerful energy contained within. In fact, even an ordinary samsara stage expert could only dodge when up against this formidable attack. The both of them turned to face each other after their attacks were formed. They could both see an unfriendly emotion from the other party's eyes. Yuan power gushed forth an instant later before two huge light palms collided. After which, the 9-star arrays danced between their glowing palms while giving off a shocking force. Bang! The light palms were just like two meteorites colliding in the sky. As a dazzling light spread, the violent energy ripples began to spread like floodwater. Both of them remained unbudging despite the impact from the energy assault waves. Their eyes were just like that of a sharp eagle's as they stared intently at each other. After which, both of their bodies disappeared simultaneously. Swoosh swoosh! A deafening rushing wind sound reverberated across the sky. Two light figures crossed each other in a phantom-like fashion. When their palm attacks clashed, vast and mighty yuan power would spread. In fact, the force from each palm attack could easily destroy a mountain, and it was truly a heart-stirring sight. Jiao and Hao Jiuyous are equally matched. Such a fight is indeed going to be an intense one. Zhu Li stared at the two light figures clashing violently in the sky, before he involuntarily nodded and said, Hao Jiuyous has trained exceptionally hard over the past 100 years. Although his talent is inferior to Hao Jiuyous, his character does not lose out to the latter. An elder commented in a faint voice. His tone clearly indicated that he was rooting for Hao Jiuyous. Zhu Li glanced at this elder, who had quite a huge say in the celestial demon Martin tribe. Since a long time ago, this fellow bore a grudge against little Martin's father. Hence, he was naturally unwilling to see the position of tribe leader successor fall into little Martin's hands. Although Hao Jiuyous is arrogant and untamable, he has improved after being tested for the past 100 years. Moreover, if our celestial demon Martin tribe loses that sharp spirit, we will likely become unworthy of the name celestial demon Martin. Another elder laughed and said. With these two clashing with their words, the remaining elders also began to voice their opinions. However, from the looks of it, it seems like there were more elders who supported Hao Jiuyous. After all, Hao Jiuyous' performance over the past 100 years could only be described as flawless. Zhu Li involuntarily frowned after hearing the arguments from the elders. After which, he did not voice his opinion as he lifted his head to look at the two figures in the sky. From the looks of it, the both of them were very powerful and it was no easy task for either one of them to defeat the other. Therefore, there was a very high likelihood that this match would end in a draw. Boom! The two figures crossed each other in the sky. Vast and mighty yuan power came sweeping forth, before the both of them shot backwards. After which, their bodies shook before two pairs of 10,000 feet large bat wings were extended behind their backs, blotting out the sun in the process. However, Hao Jiuyous' bat wings were dark black while little Martin's wings had some mysterious purple-gold symbols. This indicated that little Martin had a purer bloodline. The two pairs of bat wings slowly flapped before two giant hurricanes, that were tens of thousands of feet in size, were swiftly formed in front of them. One was black, while the other was purple-gold. Rumble! The entire world was turned into a mess after being ravaged by these two huge hurricanes. In fact, some surrounding mountains, that were more than 100,000 feet away, even began to collapse. The two of them extended their hands simultaneously before they directly reached into their huge hurricanes. Their arms shook before the two enormous hurricanes turned. They appeared just like two wind dragons as they wildly whistled forward. Boom! The two hurricanes with vast and mighty yuan power clashed in the sky. After which, they left numerous dark black cracks in the empty space itself. In fact, the entire world became dimmer. Crack crack! The two of them had poured a relatively large amount of yuan power into their respective hurricanes. However, they still ended up in a stalemate. Clearly, the two of them were quite evenly matched. Such powerful individuals. Unexpectedly, Hao Jiuyous is still so formidable despite being missing for 100 years. Hao Jiuyous is also pretty decent. However, from the looks of it, he is still unable to defeat Big Brother Hao Jiuyous. A draw is already a pretty decent result. If it was not because Big Brother Hao Jiuyous was ambushed and had went missing for 100 years, it is likely that no one within the celestial demon Martin tribe could contest with him for the position of tribe leader successor. That's right. Many conversations began to spread from below, while the crazy face-off in the sky entered into a stalemate. Hao Jiuyous' hand suddenly grabbed his black hurricane. His face, which was originally filled with a warm smile, suddenly became extremely icy cold. Meanwhile, a venomous and unwilling glint was flowing within his pupils. You bastard! Do you know what kind of price I paid over the past 100 years in order to obtain this strength? Don't tell me that I still cannot defeat someone like you, who has been hiding and recuperating as a fragmented existence over the last 100 years. Hao Jiuyous secretly bellowed while dense fury surged in his heart. This caused a scarlet color to vaguely appear deep within his eyes. I am the most outstanding person in the celestial demon Martin tribe. The scarlet color in Hao Jiuyous' pupils grew increasingly dense. He suddenly clenched his hand, which had been inserted into the black hurricane, before a strange symbol stealthily appeared. How can a genius like you understand the pain that I had to go through? Like I said, Hao Jiuyous, will definitely trample you today. A black symbol appeared on Hao Jiuyous' palm. It looked akin to a complex network of tree roots. Countless black light rays spread before they filled Hao Jiuyous' entire palm. Faintly, extremely dark and vicious ripples began to spread. I have waited 100 years for this. How can I let you off so easily today? Hao Jiuyous inserted his palm into the black hurricane. Both his eyes contained a scarlet color as he stared at the distant little Martin. Following which, he secretly smirked before he suddenly clenched his hand. Sizzle sizzle. After Hao Jiuyous clenched his hand, it was possible to see many densely packed black light rays shooting out from his palm, which was hidden within the black hurricane. Those black light rays shuttled within the black hurricane and they looked like complicated meridians. Buzz. These black light rays were mixed with the black hurricane, causing its color to deepen. However, it was difficult to detect this change with one's naked eyes, as these two colors were fairly similar. Only some powerful elders vaguely realized that Hao Jiuyous' hurricane had suddenly become much stronger. Bang! Many cracks were continuously formed in the empty space where the two hurricanes collided. Loud thunderous noises also spread in waves and resounded across the sky. These two hurricanes contained the vast and mighty yuan power from the two of them respectively. Even if they casually swung them around, these hurricanes still possessed a force that could shake the world. Moreover, the two of them were evenly matched, and even in an intense fight like this, it was still very difficult to tell who would obtain the upper hand. However, it was clear that this stalemate would not last forever. Swish! The moment those black meridians spread across the black hurricane, the empty space where these two hurricanes collided also began to collapse at an even faster pace. Meanwhile, the wild and mighty yuan power present within the purple-gold hurricane actually began to dissipate a little at a time after being corroded by that black hurricane. The stalemate was instantly broken at this moment. The black hurricane was just like a brutal black dragon that had left the abyss, as it roared towards the sky and ruthlessly charged towards the purple-gold hurricane with a brutal expression. Bang bang bang. Up against this fearsome attack from the black hurricane, the purple-gold hurricane, which was originally evenly matched with the former, actually began to collapse an inch at a time. After which, just like a triggered chain reaction, the 10,000 feet large fast and powerful yuan power purple-gold hurricane exploded, in front of many stunned onlookers. Swoosh! After the purple-gold hurricane collapsed, Hao Jiuyous' body flashed like a black ray of light. In the next instant, he appeared in front of little Martin, who was currently in shock due to this unexpected development. After which, he threw his palm forward. There were peculiar black tattoos wrapped around Hao Jiuyous' palm. Those black tattoos wiggled quietly like poisonous snakes, appearing extremely dark and sinister. Humph! Little Martin snorted coldly in his heart after he saw that Hao Jiuyous was still chasing after him. Clenching his fist, purple-black light swiftly gathered in his palm. After which, he gathered all the strength in his body and threw a punch forward. Hao Jiuyous involuntarily split his lips into a smile after he saw that little Martin was planning on countering his attack head-on. Meanwhile, his expression became even more sinister. Bang! A fist and palm clashed, before a huge energy ripple, which could be seen with one's naked eye, swept across the sky with a loud bang. In fact, the shockwave completely shattered the clouds in the sky. Standing beneath that terrifying energy assault wave, the expressions of everyone below changed drastically. This was because they saw little Martin's body flying backwards by 10,000 feet. After which, he slammed heavily against the wall of a mountain, causing large rocks to tumble. Whoa! A series of shocked exclamations spread below. This fight had actually ended with Hao Jiuyous gaining the upper hand. How is this possible? Previously, Hao Jiuyous was evenly matched with Jiao. Why did he suddenly become so much stronger? Wu Zhong clenched his hand tightly and cried out furiously when he saw this scene. Some members of the celestial demon Martin tribe in the vicinity also frowned slightly. Clearly, they did not comprehend the situation. On the stage, when Zhu Li's group saw this scene, they were all shocked as well. After all, based on the strength that the both of them had displayed previously, their fight should not have concluded this quickly. Ha ha, it seems like Hao Jiuyous still came out on top. But this is only to be expected. Everyone has witnessed his hard work over the past 100 years. Jiuyous might be shockingly talented, but he is still lagging behind by 100 years. An elder laughed as he said, First elder, this match has already been decided. Shall we? Another elder, who also supported Hao Jiuyous, nodded and asked. Zhu Li frowned, before he exchanged glances with a couple of elders. After a brief moment of hesitation, he helplessly nodded his head. Hao Jiuyous wins. Zhu Li lifted his head, before he looked at the figure in the sky and announced in a deep voice. Ha ha, big brother Jiuyous, thank you for the victory. Hao Jiuyous' face once again regained its usual warm smile. He looked at the dented mountain wall in the distance, before he cupped his hand together and smilingly said. Bang! The mountain wall exploded before a figure rushed out as rock fragments flew. At this moment, little Martin's expression was a little gloomy and there was still some black chi lingering over his long arms. Moreover, those black chi were trying to invade his body from all directions. Fortunately, he managed to block them after using his full strength. After all, those energy were extremely overbearing. Little Martin furrowed his brows. Previously, Hao Jiuyous was only able to fight equally with him. However, the former subsequently used some hidden techniques which allowed his strength to soar abruptly. Moreover, his techniques were a little peculiar. That power does not belong to you, am I right? Little Martin's sharp eyes stared at Hao Jiuyous as he slowly said. Big brother Jiuyous, what are you saying? Hao Jiuyous smiled faintly. Then, he completely ignored little Martin as he turned around and looked at Zhu Li below and said, First elder, since the match has been decided, may I know if the position of tribe leader successor? Zhu Li secretly sighed. After which, he nodded and said, From today onwards, the new tribe leader successor of the celestial demon Martin tribe is Hao Jiuyous. An uproar spread across the square when Zhu Li's voice sounded. Many members of the celestial demon Martin tribe had a look of pity as they stared at little Martin. Who could have imagined that this once incomparably dazzling genius would actually end up defeated? Little Martin ignored the many pairs of eyes. He merely took a deep glance at Hao Jiuyous before landing on the ground. Jiuyous. Wu Zhong hurriedly came forward to greet little Martin after the latter landed on the ground. Then, he gritted his teeth and said, How is it possible for that fellow to defeat you? Little Martin waved his hand. Although he also had some doubts in his heart, voicing his doubts now would clearly cause members of his tribe to think that he was a narrow-minded individual, who could not accept his loss. Hence, it was pointless for him to say anything for now. Hao Jiuyous stood alone in the sky as he overlooked the many members of the celestial demon Martin tribe from above. The warm smile on the corner of his lips grew even richer, and this was especially the case when he saw little Martin's lonely figure. In fact, there was joy rising from within his heart. He was not blessed with extraordinary talent since young. Fortunately, he possessed a sharp mind and a ruthless heart. Hence, he was finally able to trample over this once dazzling genius of the celestial demon Martin tribe. This alone was sufficient to prove that he was the most outstanding person in the celestial demon Martin tribe. From today onwards, no one within the same generation of the celestial demon Martin tribe would be able to compete with him. In the near future, the entire celestial demon Martin tribe will also fall under his control. Hao Jiuyous had the impulse to laugh out loud when he thought of this. After enduring for so many years, he had finally tasted success. Let's go. Little Martin said to Wu Zhong. After which, he turned around and left. Wu Zhong could only sigh upon seeing this. He understood little Martin well and knew just how proud the latter was. As such, he knew that little Martin must be feeling extremely terrible about the defeat that he suffered today. Ha ha, to think that someone from the celestial demon Martin tribe would actually use the strength of the Yimo. How unexpected. However, a familiar laughter was suddenly transmitted from the distance, just as little Martin turned around. Finally, it reverberated across the sky while being wrapped by Yuan power. Lindong? Little Martin's body stiffened when he heard this laughter. He suddenly turned around and looked at the sky with joyous eyes. Who is it? Standing in the sky, Hao Jiuyous' expression suddenly changed before he cried out sternly. Standing below him, the many experts from the celestial demon Martin tribe were also startled. Immediately, they scanned their surroundings in an attempt to locate the person who had just spoken. Swoosh! A rushing wind sound appeared from the distance. Soon after, a figure flew out and appeared in the sky in front of many pairs of eyes. The person who had just shown up was exactly Lin Dong, who had entered the heavenly cave a few days ago. Who are you? How dare you barge into our celestial demon Martin tribe? Are you courting death? Some elders in the celestial demon Martin tribe were furious when they saw him. Immediately, vast and mighty Yuan powers surged as they prepared to capture him. This young friend, may I know what exactly do you mean? Shu Li waved his hand and stopped the many elders. His eyes were staring intently at Lin Dong. That was because he clearly heard what the latter said previously. Moreover, as the first elder of the celestial demon Martin tribe, he was naturally familiar with the word Yimo. You elders of the celestial demon Martin tribe are truly a muddle-headed bunch. Not only has the Yimo invaded your tribe, but a trap was even placed within your heavenly cave, and all the experts currently undertaking a seclusion within have fallen into a hallucination. To think that all of you have failed to detect it even after so many years. You guys have really become a bunch of dotards. Lin Dong glanced at those elders and involuntarily laughed coldly. Brat, how dare you utter such nonsense? You are truly courting death. The two celestial demon Martin tribe elders, who had consistently supported Hao Jiuyous, had a drastic change in their expressions. They cried out before they charged forward explosively. Both of them attacked together as they tried to capture Lin Dong. When Lin Dong saw those two elders charging towards him ruthlessly, he curled his lips. However, he showed no intention of putting up a defense. Buzz! However, the space behind Lin Dong suddenly rippled when those two elders were about to reach him. Following which, a dark golden-haired majestic figure appeared beside him. The latter extended his hand and clenched it. Immediately, the bodies of the two celestial demon Martin tribe elders, who have reached the samsara stage, froze. The both of you are so anxious to deliver a killing blow. Is it because you guys have a guilty conscience? The majestic figure's eyes contained an endlessly majestic aura as he stared at the two elders in front of him, who now wore terrified expressions. Finally, his deep voice sounded. Tribe leader? Greetings to the tribe leader. The many celestial demon Martin tribe members had a drastic change in their expressions when they saw the figure in the sky. All of them began to kneel a moment later before their respectful voice reverberated across the entire place. This episode ends here.